Hi, and welcome to day 3 of the Golf Zone Leadbetter Virtual Summit 2020. We'd like to thank all of you for tuning in wherever you are in the world. I'm Stuart Clayton, Head of Education for Golf Zone Leadbetter, and today we have an amazing session for you. I'm so excited about this one. It's called Creating the Confident Mind, Developing Your Personal Power Source for Golf and for Life. So you're going to get some really great tools here from our presenter, Dr. Robert K. Winters. Robert, we're delighted to have you with us. How are you today?
No, I'm great, Stuart. Just glad to be part of this wonderful, wonderful summit.
Perfect. So before I properly introduce you, which you totally deserve to be, the accolades are tremendous, and we'll go through some of them. A little bit of some pointers for the viewers today to hopefully get the best out of the session. So a lot of you will be viewing through the app or on a browser. But you'll see in the menu bar, which will either be down the right-hand side of the screen or across the top, that you have a handout there. Gives you a lot of details about the upcoming webinars that we've got for this week and for next week. There's also in the handout exclusive discount codes for our Golf Zone Leadbetter University courses, which the doc has his own, which we'll talk about and bring to life a little bit later in the session. And also, if you're an instructor and want to learn more about our certifications in junior golf and in our Leadbetter Golf Academy certifications, please check it out, have a look through, and contact us if you've got any questions. We want this to be interactive as much as possible, as much as it's virtual, with all of the viewers. So you have the option to ask questions also in the menu bar. So please feel free at any point to send your questions in. We'll get to those to the end. We'll chat for about 30 to 35, 40 minutes and then head into some Q&As before we close things out. So, Doc, you've got a huge background in sports psychology. You're an internationally renowned sports psychologist. You've been resident sports psychologist or golf psychologist for us at our headquarters for over 20 years now. You've authored 4 books. You're a professional speaker. You've written hundreds of articles for various publications and authored a unique audio-induced training course for Tournament Thoughts for Great Golf at our Golf Zone Leadbetter University, which we released this year. A little bit of your background: you hold a bachelor and a master's degree from Ball State University. Then you earned your PhD doctorate in sports psychology from the University of Virginia, where you actually then went on to be their head coach for a number of years. I think you are unlike any other sports performance coach in the world. You have 45 plus years of playing sport at the most competitive levels. You've been a Division I collegiate coach for 9 years, it was, with the University of Virginia. You helped found the Nike Golf Schools. You've coached and mentored over 75 All-American athletes at all different divisions throughout the collegiate system in the States. You've worked with numerous professionals of the highest caliber, including major winners. Obviously, you've worked with David and his team and his players for a number of years. You've coached US, British, Scottish, Australian amateur champions, as well as US Open, US Senior Open, and Masters champions. I feel honored and privileged to not only have you here today, but to be a friend of yours and learn every time for you. I think you bring a distinctive energy to the sessions, and I'm really looking forward to today. But it'd be interesting, before we get started on today's topic about, the confident mind, and you're more commonly known as the confidence doctor. But if you could bring to life a little bit of your history with us and with David.
Wow, it just wear me out just listening to all those things. It's been a blessed life, and I'm very, very honored to be on the speaking dais with all these great minds in golf. And it's been one great journey, and I've loved every step of the way. And let me start here by telling everyone, let's go back to 1971. Woo, that's a long time ago. I was 17 years of age, and I was a student at the Arnold Palmer Golf Academy at Stratton Mountain, Vermont. It was the first big established academy, and it was 125 boys for 3 weeks. And I was 17 years old. I was very, very young. And I remember going there. I locked my keys inside my trunk of my car. I had to borrow some clubs for 3 or 4 days. I got a hole-in-one on the first day there with a borrowed driver. And I ended up winning one of the division championships at the end. And at the end of the week, the third week, the king himself, Arnold Palmer, came. And it wasn't that he just came in and spent a little time. He spent 2 complete days with us. And I remember we're on the practice range, and he was going up and down each student and really showing them different things. And Arnold Palmer came with his huge forearms, his huge hands. And he said, Bobby, let me take a look at your grip. He goes, you're the young man who got a hole-in-one with the driver, right? And I said, yes. And he goes, how does that feel? And I said, feels great. He goes, I've never done that. I've never made a hole-in-one with the driver. So it was a great rapport I had with the king right there. But he took a look at my grip and he said, here, I'm going to tell you something that my dad Deacon told me years ago. He goes, I want you to put your hands on the golf club just like this. And don't let anyone tell you anything different. Fall in love with that grip and never, ever change it. And I said, yes, sir. Now let's fast forward this through all the different degrees, all the certifications, all the years playing professional golf coaching. I had a chance to meet David, had a chance to work with several of the players that he was coaching. And he said, I'd like to, see what Dr. Bob can do for us here at the Leadbetter Golf Academy here in Orlando, Florida. So he says, I'll have an audience. Let's go out and go play at Lake Nona, my golf course. So I go out there, and I've had, pretty good history playing golf, professional at every level. And so we're on the first tee, and as we're stepping up to the first tee, and David's just, people don't really know him personally. He's absolutely the most gracious, humble, wonderful wit. And I'm on the first tee, and as I'm actually going through my pre-shot routine, he looks at me in that great English South African accent of his, and he goes, Bob, he goes, who taught you that grip? And I looked at him and I said, my grip, Arnold Palmer, he taught me this grip when I was 17 years old. And he told me never to change it. And then I looked back at him, I go, what do you think? How does it look? And David looked at me, he goes, oh, it looks pretty good. He goes, I tell you what, he did a good job. And so as I was going through my pre-shot routine, Stuart, as I was walking into the shot, I was thinking to myself, much like everyone else does, I'm being scrutinized. I'm being evaluated. I'm being judged by the greatest instructor in the world. And as I was stepping into my shot, Stuart, I'm sitting there going, he's looking at you right now. You better be doing everything just right. And I said, hold on here. I'm not chopped beef. I'm Dr. Bob Winters. I've played this game for, decades. So I backed off. And David looked at me and he goes, Bob, he goes, what's wrong? What's happening? I said, I got a mosquito in my ear, David. And I said, he just keeps bugging me right there. So I went through my whole routine and I actually stepped in, cleared my mind and actually hit it down the center of the fairway. So David and I played for about 4 or 5 holes. And on the 6th hole, which is a par 3 at Lake Nona Golf Club, I finally looked at David and I said, David, I said, we're just getting along so great. I said, we've got, a wonderful working alliance and you're easy to talk to. I said, I got to be honest with you. On that first tee, I was a little bit nervous. I was worried about what you were thinking about me playing golf, about my swing, my setup, what I'm saying, what I'm doing. And I said, but that's why I backed off. I didn't have a mosquito in my ear. And David looked at me in all his graciousness and modesty and his joking manner. He goes, well, Bob, he goes, let me tell you something. Honestly, I was thinking the same thing about you when I was up there on the tee too. So really what I want everyone to understand here, right from the very get-go, no one is immune to doubt, negative thoughts, intruding thoughts. And that's really what we're talking about here today. We're talking about creating a confident mind. And now everyone talks about confidence. Confidence, speak with confidence, act with confidence, buy with confidence, sell with confidence. Everything's about confidence. And I can honestly tell you that today, after today, you will be a little transformed as to what you think confidence is and what confidence is not. Because if we go back and we think about, this era's greatest player, the modern era of golf, Jack Nicklaus. He said, the single most important factor is confidence. And no matter how great your talent, there's only one way to obtain it and sustain it, and that is work. And for all of us, we're actually developing our confidence. We are trying to own our confidence, trying to get to this psychological core that we call true, enduring confidence. And it should be a labor of love. It is a never-ending project, the never-ending story. I love, the story about Miles Davis, the great jazz trumpeter. And he has actually transformed jazz and world jazz over the years through 4 or 5 decades. And he said this, he said, it takes a long time to learn how to play like yourself. And that's really, what I found out. And so over the years, I've done a lot of academic research, now maybe over 40 years of looking at the different types of confidence, because it's a huge umbrella. It's a multidimensional, multifarious subject. It is probably the most tangible of all intangibles, because there's a lot of things that go into confidence. For most of us, we have this belief, this global self-confidence. I believe I can do something. Years ago at Stanford University, Albert Bandura talked about self-efficacy, which is a very situation-specific confidence. It says, the strength of my conviction says that I can do this at this certain time. I have those skill requirements and competencies. I can do this. There's situational confidence, meaning I have confidence in this shot, but I don't in this. An example would be, I'm really confident from the side of the green chipping with a little wedge, but if you get me into the bunker, I'm not as confident. And there's movement competence, there's movement confidence, Stuart. And these come from the motor learning and trust category. Movement competence suggests what we talk about mastery of movement. It's a sense of adequacy in your skill, in your swing. The confidence of movement means I know I can hit this shot under these conditions. Effectiveness, motivation, perception of control. I mean, there's a number of things. Contextual confidence, state and trait levels of confidence, conditional confidence. Now, let's talk about that for a second. Most players that we teach, that we coach, have something I call conditional confidence. This is one of the pseudo, or what we call false confidences. It isn't true confidence. So I say on, the first tee, if I can get off to a good start, if I can make this first putt for par, if I can actually get, 1 or 2 under in these difficult holes, on those conditions, on those outcomes, then I will allow myself to feel confident. And that isn't confidence at all. Then we have sport confidence and competitive orientation, how I feel about winning and losing. So there's a lot of different things, a lot of variables that go into this academically. Now, when we talk about experiential, when we talk about all the other augmenting variables, we're talking about grit, determination, psychological hardiness. We're talking about a lot of different things. So one of the things that I did years ago, I started doing a lot of interviews, a lot of what we call naturalistic inquiry. And along with one of my colleagues and a great friend, Dr. Patrick Cohn, we had written our first book, The Mental Art of Putting, Using Your Mind to Putt Your Best, The Psychology of Great Putting. We were doing interviews for 2 to 3 years, going all the different tours, looking at different college players, college coaches. And it was in 1994, Stuart, that I was on the green there at Phoenix Open, there at TPC Scottsdale. And I was doing a lot of interviews, and I walked up to perhaps one of the most intimidating golfers at that time. His name was Billy Glassen. For the viewers and participants who don't know him, he was a 6'1" athletic specimen. He had long blonde surfer hair. He had like this goatee, Fu Manchu. He didn't suffer any fools. And I saw it firsthand through all the years I had worked with Billy, that he intimidated even the Tiger Woods of the world. And so I went up to Billy and I asked him this very basic question. I said, what does putting confidence mean to you? And he looked at me and goes, what was that again? I said, what does putting confidence mean to you? And he sat back and he looked at me, Stuart, and he said, putting confidence. That's a foreign term to me. Those two words don't go together. That's an oxymoron, like jumbo shrimp or sanitary sewer. He goes, I don't really have, any confidence in my putting. I haven't made anything in competition, maybe over 10 feet in about a month. Can you explain to me what this is? And I went on to explain to him really what it means about owning your confidence, stepping into every putt, believing it can be made, knowing your system, knowing your process. And I had him explain his to me. And his process was he just wants to get it started on this little launch point. And he says, what else can I do? And I said, well, you need to get more specific about how you want the ball to go into the hole. I said, you're like going on a vacation trip. You leave home, you get out, of your city, and now you're in the middle of the desert someplace, and now you're not even close to your destination. So I said, here's what I want you to do. And we had about 200 people around the green because the Waste Management Phoenix Open draws huge crowds. And this was on a late Tuesday afternoon. Everybody was up by the practice green. And I said, show me exactly about 2 or 3 feet from the hole, a point where you want that ball to actually go over and then go into the hole. So he walks up, to this 20-footer. He says, I want it to go right here, because he had been getting it. Well, I'll just have it out here a little bit. And this was long before we had aim point or, things like that. So I was helping him become much more specific in his putting process. So he comes back, steps in the 20-footer, rolls it into the hole. And he looks at me and he goes, wow. He goes, well, that was fun. I said, let's do it again here from another spot. And I had him go through the same process. 3 putts from 20 feet, boom, boom, boom. And on the final one, there, the audience was there, was clapping. And he looks at me, he goes, is it really that simple? I mean, you just gave me this one little thing. And it proved to me one thing, is that, one thing can actually be the tipping point for your confidence between just going through the motions and then saying, wow, that's it. Because I've worked with so many athletes for so many years, just one little key, something that really trips that mindset that you have sort of this eureka, this aha phenomenon, boom, now it really gets everything into place. So when we start talking about this, confidence is everything to an athlete, but confidence is everything that provides belief. And Stuart, you've actually worked with so many golfers over the years. You happen to really just find something, just one little thing that works for them, correct?
Yeah, I think you do, and I think that comes back, and I know you're a massive fan of this, and the way that you deliver your style of coaching is to really get to know the students or the players, and I think you have to know the individual. I loved what you said before about the musician, about saying it takes an awful long time to learn to play like yourself, and everybody's individual. I think that's one of the beauties of what we do around the academies worldwide, and all of our instructors and people and our instructors that have the pleasure to learn from you in this area of confidence and the psychology side of the game, is that we appreciate that every golfer is individual. There is no set method. Yes, you've got a philosophy. We know that there are certain things that we want golfers to do, but you've got to understand the individual and be able to find a way to communicate with them and find a way to find something that they resonate with. And I think that's exactly, I would embrace that. And I've learned so much in my coaching, and I'm always learning. And my job's to help educate coaches as well. And I think one of the big things there is really just taking time and not trying to overcomplicate things. Like you said, often for me, it is just the simplest thing that is that little moment where people go, you know what? Yeah, that really helped me. I've got some belief now in myself that, hey, I can do this. And I think it's that conviction, isn't it? If you've got some of that self-belief and you start to see some results, then it boosts that confidence. And like you say, all those different types of confidence you talked about earlier on, you experience virtually all of them during a round of golf, or those situational positions where those areas of confidence will be tested.
Right, exactly. And I think we take a look here at this statement. Confidence is everything to an athlete, but confidence is every single thing that provides belief. And I really want to help everybody understand this whole notion about belief and believing in yourself. It was the great political activist, the great peaceful demonstrator, Mahatma Gandhi from India, who said that your thoughts become your words, all right? And it really starts with your belief, because your beliefs, become your thoughts, and your thoughts become your words. Your words become your actions, and your actions become your habits, and your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. And what Gandhi was saying is that we manifest these thoughts in our head. We create these things, and it helps us to have this emotional glue. This is what we believe. And the most important thing for an instructor, for a player, for any performer, is that they believe in their talent. If we take a look at the word believe, if you step on the first tee and you don't believe in your ability, you don't believe in your training, your preparation, in the middle of that word, there's three little letters, L-I-E, because you cannot fake it in this game. There is no BS in golf. The golf ball always reflects what you bring into it. And if you can't believe in it, hook, line, and sinker, it's just a lie. And what happens? It goes away from you. So really what happened, many years ago, in fact, this last year, I've had the chance, to be on the speaking dais, with a lot of great people. And this was one day I had a chance to be with, World Hall of Famer Tony Jackman. And I've known Tony for several years. And I want to tell this story because his whole career has been ups and downs. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know him a little bit better. I work with his son, Sean Jackman, who just yesterday won his third aspiring tour victory. But Tony, last year was talking about in 1981, he was left off of the Ryder Cup. Now here's a two-time major winner. He's had his ups and downs. He had a lot of, fits with his putting. He lost his putting confidence. But in 1981, he was left off the team. He was 13th in the order of merit for European Tour. Now this is, now where the Europeans were part of the Ryder Cup and not just Great Britain and Ireland. And he had played many years for GBNA. And he was incensed. He said, I don't want to have anything to do with the Ryder Cup. But, in June of 1983, Colin Snapes, who was the secretary of the British PGA, and Ken Schofield, who was the executive director of the European Tour, came up to Tony and said, we want you to captain the 1983 Ryder Cup team over at the PGA National Palm Beach Gardens. Tony, relayed to me and our audience, you could have knocked me over with a feather. I didn't want to have anything to do. And now they want me to actually come and captain the team. He didn't give him an answer. He waited a little bit. He went to his friend's house, but then he got back, with them. And he said, okay, but here's what I demand, because we have been treated second rate, third rate. He goes, I want us to go to America, and I want us to have a different belief. I want us to have a different attitude. I want, our players, our team, our whole European continent to know that we can actually, believe in ourselves and defeat the American team. He said, here's what I need. He goes, I need us, to actually have first class accommodations. We need to fly first class on the Concorde. No more of this back on the bus stuff. We are not going to wear these old hand-me-down wool jackets. We're not going to have the plastic shoes and plastic bags we've had in the past. We're going to have a team room. I mean, Tony Jackman was putting down a lot of basics, demands that are just present today in the Ryder Cup. And everything that he employed, they still use for the European Ryder Cup team. And he said one thing. I know Seve didn't play last year in 1981 in the Ryder Cup because he's had, sort of these business negotiations break down with the European tour. He goes, but I've got to have Seve. And they said, we will give you all these things if you can get Seve. He says, absolutely. And he goes to Seve, who was the greatest player, notably, in the world at that time. And Seve said, no, I don't want to do it. So Tony pleaded and begged, Seve, he goes, you're the greatest player in the world. If you are here and you are championing our team, I believe, and you believe, and I know we can defeat the Americans. And finally, the four words that Tony was, hoping that Seve would say, they were said to him. Seve, in his best Spanish accent, said, okay, I help you. And so they got together in 1983, came to PGA National, and they were defeated 14.5 to 13.5. Lanny Watkins hit a wedge 3 feet from the hole to defeat or tie Jose Maria Canizares, and that the match. They only lost by 1 point. So they went back to the team room. Seve wasn't there. Everybody had to kind of heads down, a little bit distraught, a little bit frustrated. The Spaniard, the conquistador, walks in and he looks around at everyone and he actually, sort of berates them. He goes, "Why do you have your heads down?" He goes, "We should be looking at this as a victory. We came here believing we could win. Now we know we can win." Now that's the one thing, Stuart, that's a really big difference. Do you believe in something, or do you know you can do something? And that's what I want everybody here who's listening in. Anytime anyone wins anything for the first time at any level, you have to believe, think, and act and behave in a manner that says, "I can do this." Just, last week in the LPGA tournament, Allie McDonald, was saying to herself after the third round, "I know I have the ability. I know if I can keep doing the same things I've been doing, if I just keep doing and continuing what I'm doing, I'll be fine." And she gets into the winner's circle. And it's so funny. People always tell me, "Wow, is this really what it is?" I didn't do anything different. But the point of it is, I know now. And people say, if I could just win one time, then it would make winning, these successive times easier. And I go, I know. But that's the big thing. You first have to believe it. And most people say, "Well, I have to see it in order to believe it." And it's the other way around. When you believe it, you'll start to see it. And that's exactly what Tony Jackman did right there. Okay, so for all of you, if you are listening to anything I've said, how would you define your level of confidence? How do you know you have it? What are the ingredients for you? For most people say, "I'm really playing with a lot of confidence," but they don't really write anything down. So really what I want to give you is a very detailed explanation of really what I think confidence is. And Stuart, just grant me just a few minutes here, because this is a huge, huge thing right here. So I say that confidence, and everybody here can read it, but I want you to take a look at this, because there's a lot of stuff going on here. It is a multidimensional phenomenon that encompasses an amalgamation of success experiences coupled with the belief and knowledge that one can and will do something to produce a positive and successful result. It is strongly associated with faith and belief in one's innate and developed abilities. Now, that's a lot. Well, hold on. That's only half of the equation. It's kind of like the half of the Bill Glassen, clock. Confidence is also the mental emotional strength to resist the negative influences of doubt, distress, and negative cognitive and physiological anxiety, and move towards the productive execution of a desired task. Now, I can break down every one of these different areas, but when I say multidimensional, confidence isn't just positive thoughts, good attitude, believing myself. It is psychological. It is physiological. It is neurological. It's hormonal. It's visceral. We feel it in our gut when we're confident. And if you take a look at both of these different paragraphs, it's almost like a boxer has a left and a right, jab. The top, it says, "I believe in my abilities. I know I can do this. I've developed competencies." And the right, and this is why people love to feel confident, because this says, "I'm not afraid. I can get through the doubt. Let's go. Let's charge." And that's really what I think is so important about confidence. So as you know, Stuart, and you have been sort of this master educator with our Leadbetter, academies and certification, of all of our instructors. I had written many years ago the 10 Commandments of Mind Power Golf that we use sort of as a text manual. So I thought when I would actually, give the participants today the 10 Commandments for creating confidence. And I have been called the blonde Moses, so we'll have the burning bush right there. Okay. All right.
Doug, if I can just jump in here, I think what you've just talked about there, I know you said that was a huge paragraph and lots of information, but the big thing that you're going to present here is really kind of giving some tools that all the viewers can take away with them and start to implement. And I think that's what the beauty of these webinars are, that you can give the viewers, even though it's virtually, which we're all experiencing, this year with everything that's going on, a lot more virtual stuff being out there, but key tools, tips and tricks to help people with their confidence. But I think what you've really done there is set the scene of of people actually understanding what confidence is. And if I could just ask you a question, I think from a coach's point of view, we see a lot of students come, and especially younger students that are maybe underconfident, but then you see people that you presume to be overconfident. Where would you say the sweet spot is for a person or an athlete, a performer as well?
Now, I don't know if there is any one definitive sweet spot, but people always talk to me, is it better to be a little bit underconfident than overconfident? And the point for me is that when we have doubt, indecision, that's usually when athletes, they sort of believe in their abilities, but they question whether they're able to get the task done. So for me, when we start talking about developing true confidence, which we're going to go through here in a minute, is that you have to understand that the layers of confidence, the first layer is curiosity. I mean, I always ask all my players, are you good? Are you good? Meaning, do you believe in your talent? And they'll say, yes. I go, well, how do you know that you're good? So I'm asking these curiosity statements because what we have a lot of people, Stuart, we have a lot of people who have all these visual conditions. They have hyperopia, myopia, presbyopia, different, conditions, nearsightedness, farsightedness. But most golfers and most performers have sort of hyperwantopia. They have this excited, I want what this person has. This person has something I have. And all the personal power that you need to do is right here, right in front of you, looking at you every day in the mirror. And so for me, it's not whether you're overconfident, underconfident. Do you actually believe in your philosophy? Do you know and really understand your competencies? Do you really play and think and grow every day to find out how good you can become? Because that's why confidence is such a never-ending story. We're always, always getting better. So let me kind of just start here and help players understand how they can actually create confidence, just not for the golf course, but for the boardroom, for your personal, professional, and even your social life. First of all, I think we have to start, Stuart, with this basic premise that you are the alpha and the omega. Confidence begins and ends with you. We hear so many players talking about their support team, but here's the kicker. When it's all said and done, people can pull you, push you, but you have to want it for yourself. No one can want it for you more than you want it for yourself. So you have to be able to say, I'm accountable for me. I'm responsible for my success, and I will own up to all my failings. Number two, what you think about, you bring about. This kind of goes with that Gandhi statement. And Earl Nightingale said it back in 1953, the year I was born. He said, it's the strangest secret of all. He goes, what you think about, you become. And there was a great romantic poet named William Wordsworth years ago who wrote a nice little poem. He said, your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers or you can grow weeds. And I think that's really important because you create the thoughts in your head. And that's why I love our new tournament Thoughts for Great Golf, because we're creating positive, specific, confident affirmations, and we're changing the neurological wiring within your brain with this alpha wave technology. So what you think about, you bring about. Number three, and I've had a real bias about this for years. I hear a lot of mental coaches, performance coaches, other people, pop psychologists talk about act as if, fake it till you make it. I've never really liked, those words. This is Dr. Bob Winters talking. I like it, do it until you become it. Nike became this huge billion-dollar industry because they had a really neat swoosh and they had a great little logo that said three words, just do it. Because that's an action word. Confidence is an action process. Do it until you become it. All right, so you fail. Confident people realize that failing is the fertilizer for success. So let's continue to do, let's continue to grow. Let's take that feedback and put it in our experience file, and let's get better every day. And that's really what Emile Coué, the great French hypnotherapist counselor, was saying. Each day, in some little way, I'm getting better and better. So I don't like fake it till you make it, because I think that's just false deception. All right, you're actually faking your real perception. I would rather say, I take ownership. I'm going to do it until I become it. Number four is speak to yourself in big growth words. I love, big, positive, optimistic words. Words like be big, I can, I will, here we go. Because we're always speaking to ourselves 24/7, 365, 24 hours a day, even from our conscious to our subconscious. Even when we sleep, our brain is encoding all of these different messages, all this self-talk that we've been telling ourselves all day. And so when we have this long-term conditioning, you have to ask yourself, really, what am I putting in here? Your brain is really like this emotional psychological gas tank. Are you putting in high octane premium fuel? Or are you putting down watered down gas? Number five, and this is just a huge one, engage with people. All right, engage with people who have big time dreams. All right, who do things big. That's why I love this summit. You've got some of the greatest minds here, and we're all collectively having this great intelligentsia that says, here's how you can actually improve. Here's how you can grow in confidence. Here's how you can grow in technical expertise. And you want to be with people, who have this like interest. You got to, love that. Number six, ask successful people for guidance. I've been very blessed to have been trained by some of the best people in the world. Dr. Bob Rotella, Dr. Linda Bunker. I mean, people who are big in motor learning, sports psychology. I've had people in sports vision. I've had, David and all the rest of you who I've actually, learned from. And so the funny thing was, years ago, I remember sitting in a doctoral seminar with Bob Rotella and Linda Bunker, and no one else was there. And they finally looked at me and they said to me, winners, you're going to be really good at what you do, but don't do it like us. Forge your own path. In fact, Linda and I don't expect you, to be just good. We expect you to be better than us. Now that's a heck of a legacy. That's a heck of a torch that's being handed, to someone. All right. But the point of it is, when you ask successful people for guidance, they're going to say, here's what worked for me. Now go out and have a blast doing it. The great World War II general, George S. Scott, old blood and guts Patton, said, never tell a person what to do. Tell them what you want done, and they will just dazzle you with their ingenuity. And I've always loved that. Number seven, eliminate the doubt and create competence. No one is immune to doubt. And that's why I said one of my best lines is, you've got to be smarter than your doubt and better than your fear. You've got to actually develop competence in those weak areas in your game, weak areas in your life. And you've got, sometimes, if you're always a talker, you've got to be a better listener. It's got to go, both ways. Number eight, and this is a huge one for golfers and for teachers, welcome the difficulties, welcome the hardships, because there's going to be times here where we just love the game and we hate the game. And what I always tell people is, you've got to love the hardship and you've got to love the hate, because it's the hardships and the hate that make this game great. And you've got to fall in love with that. And you've got to welcome the opportunities, because every time you have a challenge, you have a tough situation, that is an opportunity for growth. Because if you can handle that, now you've grown in capability, you've grown in composure, you've grown in confidence. And number nine, something that I think everybody needs to do is always get to a yes mindset. Doesn't mean you're a yes person. It means that you give yourself permission to even say, no, I don't agree with that. No, that doesn't really conform to what I think is true. So you always want to get to yes, but sometimes being yes means decisive enough to say no when it doesn't fit, it doesn't work. And finally, confidence is a never-ending project. We're always trying to find ways to get better. And that's really one of David's, great, sayings. Never cease, to learn. So here's the final word, and then we can actually go into the questions. To me, the most important aspect of creating great confidence is getting comfortable in your own skin, doing things your way, and just loving this process of simply becoming the best teacher, becoming the best instructor, becoming the best player, becoming the best listener, becoming the best friend, and becoming the very best of yourself. I've always loved, what the poet extraordinaire Maya Angelou said about success and winning. She said, true success is liking yourself. It's liking what you do and liking how you do it. To me, that embodies everything about creating a confident mind. And so with that, Stuart, thank you for giving me a little freedom there to actually finish those 10 commandments, is that now we can actually kind of get into, the nuts and bolts and meat and potatoes of really what these summits are all about. And that's really an exchange, of some of our participant questions.
No, absolutely. And I think before we just get to the questions, we've got a little bit of time. If you could just go back to the 10 commandments, I'd really like the viewers there, if they can grab a screenshot or they've got their phone and they can take a picture. But if they can get a picture of those 10, I think that there's such power in what you've presented there, Doc. And I'd really like the viewers to be able to have just a moment to really take that on board and just reflect on it a little bit. So if we can get them back on the screen, I think for me, while you're doing that, I think, for me in the role that I have, and especially the work that I do with you, and you've been integral in our certification program with David. We have a section that's entirely from you in there, and obviously the course that we've brought to the university platform. And I think if you look at kind of points 5 and 6 that we've got in terms of engage with people who have big dreams, one of the beauties that we have is a network of academies around the world. We've got 34 academies spanning 15 countries. We have over 125 instructors associated with us around the world, from Leadbetter Kids certified coaches to online associates to fully certified senior instructors to master instructors. And I think one of the big things that we do, and it really helps the coaches with their confidence, is, we engage with each other. I think we all possess big dreams. We all want to be the best we can be, but we also want to help our students the best that we can. And we all engage with each other asking for guidance. I'm constantly WhatsApping you and speaking with you about different things. You're always kind of, checking back and forward with me. And I think, like you said, you've had the chance to learn from some of the best out there. And what David has put in place in terms of our certification programs, the Golf Zone Leadbetter University, which really will be a legacy to him in terms of what his vision is for educating not only golf instructors, but golfers, in terms of, all that holistic approach, whether it's physical, mental, etc. And I think that the 10 commandments that you've shown us there, whether you're a parent of an aspiring child golfer, whether you're a golfer yourself, whether you're performing at the elite level as an amateur or a professional, or you're an instructor, I think you can screenshot that, take time to reflect on it, and probably do a little bit of soul searching and saying, right, what am I actually doing here about those? But I just thought that was so powerful, Doc, and obviously just wanted to jump in and hopefully give the viewers a little bit of a time to really just digest that, grab a quick screenshot. And again, we get to the question and answers. If you're a viewer, please ask a question. We've got a few come in, so Doc will get straight to them. We had a couple come in ahead of time. First one really from Anne Flintoff. Can confidence really be taught?
Yes, it can. And it is a skill. It can be learned. What we find out, even that there now is new research going on that confidence does have a hereditary gene. There's still a lot of new research and a lot of questions about that. But, do some people have an innate quality to be naturally more confident than others? And there's some new research that, suggesting, yeah, there's a gene, a genotype out there that says, yeah, that's true. But to say, okay, how can I actually learn to be confident? I mean, the 10 commandments I've gotten here can be applied and transcend every aspect of life. These are just not golf skills. They're life skills. And one of the things we talk about in confident, what is it that confident people, what do they have that maybe non-confident or diffident people don't have? I think it's the self-assurance. I think it's the certitude. I think it's the decisiveness. I think a lot of people who aren't very confident, all right, they go around and they do a lot of what we call pseudo-confident stuff. There's a lot of false confidence, bogus confidence people out there, like social media confidence. Everybody's taking their selfies and, you know, making themselves look good and actually, you know, glamorizing all of their shots. You know, that's deception. That's not real perception. A confident person doesn't have to do that to make themselves feel better, because a lot of people do the social media confidence. Every time they get new likes or they want to become an influencer, they go, woo, and that all those hits the dopamine in the head. But that's kind of, you know, a false, you know, sense of security there. So, you know, when we start talking about really developing the skills of confidence, we're talking about patience. We're talking about trust. We're talking about psychological hardiness. We're talking about grit and achievement, motivation, drive. And we can actually explain these things. And when people find out, wow, here's, you know, what I have done in order to feel better about myself. And I'm not talking about, you know, self-esteem, because self-esteem is a related concept, but it's not self-confidence. Self-confidence says I have the necessary skills that I can achieve and do something. Self-esteem says, regardless of whether I achieve that or not, I still feel worthy of myself as a human being. Now, they're highly correlated. People who are very, you know, confident tend to have high levels of self-esteem. But, you know, it doesn't necessarily, correlation doesn't create causation. So the point that we have to have is, can it be trained? Yes. In fact, you know, I have a new book that is just exactly what it's called. It's called The Confidence Course. And it's a manuscript, you know, that we probably may even use for the Leadbetter University. I don't know. We're just, you know, still looking at it, you know, for submission. But all of these different 10, you know, aspects, these 10 commandments of creating confidence, if you really buy into them, if you really understand what they mean, that is really the secret to you creating your own personal power package. It's almost like when people say the same cliches, play your own game, be in the moment. What the rest of the world hears is sort of like Charlie Brown's dad and mom, wah, 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 yada, 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 play one shot at a time. But when you understand what those words mean, play one shot at a time, play my game, stay within myself, those are million-dollar lessons. And I love what, you know, great colleague, wonderful sports psychologist, Dr. Jim Glassen was saying yesterday about journaling. If you need to actually journal something, write some very simple aspects. This is what it feels like when I have confidence. This is really what I felt like when I stepped up on the tee today. And you have to write it down in black and white. It isn't just making notes. There's something in the brain that says, when I write it out longhand, you know, it's something that it leaves an indelible mark on the brain. You know, actually record yourself. Talk to yourself, you know, on your video camera when you're talking with people. Give them positive words. Give them very specific feedback. I've always tried to keep things very simple. And the old KISS philosophy, and it didn't mean keep it simple, stupid. It meant keep it simple and specific. Simple thoughts, specific targets, specific goals. This is what I want to do. And so when you do that, and you do all of these things, you are now on the road to creating your personal power program. And in the end, when you start having these little successes, because success begets success, at the end, the residue of all those success experiences is really what we call your own confidence. You have put in the sweat equity, the blood, sweat, and tears. And the blood, sweat, and years creates that sweat equity confidence, which means I've earned the right to feel confident.
No, Doc, as always, great information and great answers, and more than generous with your kind of tips there. There's two questions that have come in that are probably quite related and could probably be answered in one. So I'll read them both out to you and you can maybe see how you see fit. So the first one is from Bill Palaya. It's, if I'm having a great round, when I get to the last few holes, I start to play with the idea of protecting my score. We've all experienced that. Playing too safe. How do I maintain my game until the last putt? And the other one is very similar. So this comes from Casiano Garcia. Why do we tend to think about the problems or hazards before a shot when playing a good round, and often end up in trouble? And how do we overcome it?
Well, Bill and Cassiano, thanks for two great questions there. And I'm going to sort of consolidate it into one answer. Is that when you're playing really well and when things are going great, what happens is you're not aware of your awareness. In fact, you really don't have any self-image or self-awareness at all. You are simply playing the game one shot at a time. I always, love people. I always ask them, do you like ice cream? They go, I love ice cream. And so say your favorite flavor, Bill, is chocolate. And Cassiano, you too, it's chocolate. You've been playing chocolate ice cream all day because you've gone out with a philosophy, a confident philosophy that says, I'm going out to play, to please me, to play great. I don't care, about anybody else. All I can control is me. And all day long, you're actually chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. But what happens when people get to the 16th tee, sometimes you become aware of your awareness. Sometimes you look at a leaderboard. Sometimes somebody says, hey, Bill, Cassiano, keep it going. And it's almost like somebody takes like a hypodermic needle and actually makes you aware of that. What happens? The mental mistake is we actually change mental gears. We now play not to play great. We play to avoid screwing up. Here's what I want you to understand. Both of you, when you're coming down the stretch and you have sort of that moment, that revealing moment, it says, wow, I'm doing really well. What you have is nothing at the 16th tee, nothing at all. What you need to have, and remember, is that what you have is confirmation that what you've been doing all day is working, all right? And don't really, hey, most people say, I can't stand success. Prosperity sort of makes them nervous. You have to tell yourself chocolate is working, because what's the mental mistake? Everybody wants to change flavors. Everybody gets to the next tee and go, well, I really have to try. I really got to bring it home. And they actually choose the flavor of rocky road, okay? And they start thinking way ahead. The next thing you know, they start making bogey, double bogey, and they slobber it in all the way home. So the point is, once you're there, snap yourself back into the moment and go, hey, you know what? I've been playing great all day. Remember what Ally McDonald said. She goes, listen, I know that what I'm doing has been working. All I have to do is go out and continue my same process. That allowed Ally McDonald to get into the winner's circle. The same thing for you. You have to snap yourself and just kind of bring yourself back into, hey, I've got confirmation that what I've been doing all day is working. And Cassiano, for you, why do we always, look at things and have sort of this negativity? Because most people don't get in the do, they get into the don't. Don't leave it short. Don't go right. Don't go here. And that, creates what we call the ironic process theory. The irony is what you don't want to have happen, you create subconsciously and consciously to happen. So in order to get through that negative bias that's with us all the time, because bad is stronger than good, you don't have the option of thinking negative. You don't have the option of saying, oh gosh, I hope I don't, screw up. What you need to do is say, this is what I'm going to do now in this one moment. Be very specific, keep it simple and keep it specific. Simple thought, specific target. This is what I'm going to do. Focus on what you want to do and let the don't dissolve, okay? So I think, those are pretty good answers to those questions there, Stuart. Hopefully I was clear and succinct in that.
And I think what you touched upon there really hits home as to what you specifically developed for the tournament thoughts for great golf, taking it to the course that you brought to the Golf Zone Leadbetter University. It's a unique course. You've told me there's nothing like it out there. It's 13 different chapters of audio-induced sessions that you can listen over and over to, and it takes somebody right from the journey of preparing to practice and learning to fall in love with the practice to getting ready for a tournament the night before the round, arriving at the golf course, checking in, stepping on the first tee, and exactly what you've just talked about there, going through the round, closing the deal, and then really the reflection and the summary part of it. So I think what you've touched upon there, that's exactly what you've brought together in the course, if I'm not wrong.
Oh, absolutely. Because again, you become what you think about. And so through all of these many 40, 45 years of research and what I used to call me search, because no one was more anxious, excited, or really wanted it more, for golf than I did. So I went through many, many years of trial and error, trying to find what is it specifically that I know will work. And we actually did, this tournament thoughts for great golf. We've been working on this for 15 years. And so what it is, it's just, 13 different chapters, and that very specifically build confidence affirming meditations and guided visualizations that all you have to do is just listen to. And the transformations, the metamorphosis that people have is absolutely amazing. And I hope everyone takes advantage of that.
Yeah, guys, if you are interested in the course, in the handout, there is a special discount code, GLU Summit 2020. Head on over to university.leadbetter.com, head to courses for players, and you'll see the doc presented right there, and you can learn a little bit more about it. So, Doc, we're getting towards the end here. We've got time for one more question before we close things out.
Okay.
And there's one come in from an instructor, so from a little bit more of the instructional side of it, is if they've got new students and just at the beginning of the game, obviously it's a bit of a struggle maybe with them to get the ball airborne, etc., but they also struggle maybe with their confidence. How as an instructor do I overcome their lack of confidence? And that's from Jim Mapatha.
Jim, that's a great question. But the first thing you have to ask your students is, how good do you want to be, and what do you expect, out of all these different lessons, and where do you want to go? And then we have to understand, it's like the chicken and the egg. And I'm no expert, but I do know this is that when you are curious and they are, want, to get better at the game, you have to realize that people, we live like in about a 10, 15, 20-second environment. We want things, we want them right now. But patience is confidence waiting to happen. That's sort of one of my old sayings. So we have to help our students understand that we need to be able to walk before we can run. Competence and composure are two basic building skills. And you have to remind them that we will get there. Obviously, Rome wasn't built in a day. But if we can just build on baby success, just little successes, one after one after one, what happens is that we make exponential progress as we go through. So the main thing is to remind them that, hey, this is a do it to yourself and do it for yourself journey. We're going to get there. It's a matter of time. And I've always loved this saying, is that we're not at the top, but we're climbing, and we're getting better every day in some little way. So that's really, what I would tell you.
Doc, as always, gracious with your time, gracious with your information, your tips. The 10 commandments for confidence are right on the screen, and everybody's had a chance to have a good look. I can't thank you enough, but more importantly, at this point, I'd like to thank all the viewers. We've had a great response today, some great questions. Thank you for taking time out of your day. Next up today at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Mark Immelman. On the Mark, and sports media in the digital area is sure to be a fantastic session as well. Doc, I'm going to hand things over to you. Once again, thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to spend time with you. I always learn so much, but maybe you can give us the parting words here.
Well, thank you, Stuart, for being a great friend and moderator, and thank, David and James Jewell and everyone associated, Ben Rickett, everyone associated here with this global virtual summit. And just as you see there on the screen, I just want you to remember this little thought. The moment you change your mind, you change your game. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everybody.